It's the Unhappy Hour.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Unhappy Hour. It's where Indians, Cavs, and Browns fans get together to lament the fact that we have not celebrated a championship in Cleveland since 1964. Yeah, the Indians got close. Yeah, the Cavs made a few runs. You know, both with Mark Price and that team going up against Jordan and LBJ going up against, well, I guess the less mature version of LBJ was more what it was. It wasn't those teams beating us. It was LeBron needing to figure out who he was, and, you know, the Browns had the drive and the fumble, and the team was stolen, and then they won 2 championships in another city under another name called the Ravens. But I digress. Welcome to the program. My name's Brian Engelman, and you've been listening to us perhaps for the past 3.5 years, but today for the past couple of seconds. And I want you to check out all of the shows that we've done. We do a political show called Agree to Disagree. We've had a lot of interviews, music interviews, just a whole bunch of different things. Check it out at thenewamericanmedia.com, and on the bottom right of our homepage is our Facebook and our Twitter feed. So like our Facebook page, you can also search for The New American Media with spaces in between and like the page. On Twitter, we're at American_media_. And please make sure that you subscribe to youtube.com/The New American Media, because that's where all of our stuff is chronicled and archived as well. It's very user-friendly, and they suggest all those things on the right. You know, we probably had interviews. Oh, that sounds interesting. I had no idea you guys were doing that. So, anyway, that being said, I really want to jump into all things Cleveland sports related and get special guest Rob Trautman into the program. We only have him for a little bit, so we're going to have to be brief and go rapid fire. And no, NSA rapid fire does not relate to anything violent.
Brian, how you doing, buddy?
Living the dream, Rob Trautman. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very good.
Hey, do me a quick favor. Pitch your shows and what are you doing today? Tell everybody about what you're doing today and where they can find what you're up to.
Well, I'm host of Sports on Tap. It's a local podcast in Cleveland, Ohio, and we talk pretty much all sports, local, national, of course, Cleveland. We go to different places, talk about what anybody wants to talk about. That's at SOT Podcast. And right now, I'm actually on the field at North Royalton High School, where the Brecksville Bees are taking on the North Royalton Bears here, and getting ready for game time here, and going to shoot some video for BeAFanatic.com, and it will also be hopefully on News Channel 5 tonight on the sports.
Ah, very nice, very nice.
Not too bad.
Hey, do me a favor. I talk to you about this all the time. Brunswick football Blue Devils need to play the Strongsville High School football Mustangs in the last game of the season. I don't care if they switch their conference names. That rivalry needs to be renewed, and I need you to help me carry that torch. I'm 2,000 miles away. I have so much other stuff on my plate, but I need you to kind of keep pushing for that if you can. You said you talk about what people want to talk about. I want to talk about that. It's a travesty that Ohio State doesn't play Michigan in the last game of the year. That Brunswick needs to play Strongsville.
We talk about this all the time, and I agree completely. I mean, a rivalry like Brunswick and Strongsville should be played at the end of the year, not the middle of the year. And I think hopefully they'll get back to it. I have no clue how long that will take, but me and you will keep pushing and chugging along, and hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of chugging along and getting toward the end of a baseball season here, I just don't know what to make of this damn Indians team. They show me moments and they go on little runs. You're like, oh, here they come. And yeah, I mean, going into extra innings and losing, what was that, 11-4 yesterday, and then dropping another one to the Tigers. Very crucial games. What are we to make of this Indians season? Are they out of it? Do they still have a chance? I mean, what are we looking at here with the Tribe?
You know, I'm the most optimistic person out there when it comes to the Indians, and they're still not out of it, but it's tough. It's tough every single time to say they're not out of it when they lose games like last night.
Oh.
You know, they're in them. They come back, and you know, there was another game in the Detroit series. They were winning, and you know, Allen let off a home run to Martinez to win the game. You know, it's tough. This team with the young players have done actually pretty well, and the pitching staff has kind of formed itself a little bit. You know, you look at Kluber having a good year. Yeah, he struggled lately, a few games. But overall, you look at this Indians pitching staff, they've done well with Carrasco coming out of nowhere, doing well. You still have Kluber. And the bullpen has held their own. T.J. House has done nice to start. But, it's tough hitting-wise. I said this from the beginning, they need a big bat. You look at Detroit's lineup, Victor Martinez having an unbelievable year, and then Miguel Cabrera. The Indians just don't have players like that caliber there. Yes, Michael Brantley's having a great season. 18 home runs and 85 RBIs or something like that. And, you look at Carlos Santana, he's hitting the ball. He's still batting .230, but he's putting up some home runs. But they still don't have that big bat that's to be reckoned with in the middle of that lineup. And it's showing. I mean, they're not scoring very many runs. And they're still in it, but it's going to be tough to catch Detroit and Kansas. Kansas City's very tough this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, are the Royals for real? And it sure seems like they've been playing that way. But, back to Michael Brantley really quick. Is he having a great year? I would say he's having a good year. He's having a very good year. Great is kind of reserved for, I don't know, I think of those early 90s or mid to late 90s Cleveland Indians teams, and you see great offensive outputs from them, I'm wondering, Victor Martinez, could he come back LeBron-style to give him a bat? Is there any possibility Victor comes back to Cleveland?
You know what? I think there's a decent chance. And he said at one point in his career he wanted to retire an Indian. He's a free agent next year. I would sign him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And,
what would he command on the open market? What would he go for?
He wouldn't be cheap, I'll tell you that. And hopefully the Dolans are willing to maybe spend a little money. And if they do, I hope they're holding out for that, because I've had this conversation with some of my friends, and a lot of people say, you know what, we don't want him back. He's old. But dude, he's batting almost .320 with 26 home runs and almost 100 RBIs. I would take that in a second, because the Indians don't have that.
We have Nick Swisher, and we have Jason Giambi. They'll get it done. Not so much.
Right. You look at Swisher, he's having 2 knee surgeries, I believe, and then you look at Jason Giambi, he's finally back on the field after being gone, he was on a 60-game DL. So, they still need that hitter, and hopefully this coming up in this offseason, maybe they put some money away aside and, look to spend a little bit on the off. I know they did spend some money, but they still need that hitter.
Yeah, and it's it's hard, it's tricky, because you talk about the Dolans, are they going to spend the money, and you go, well, put a winning product on the field and the fans will be there, and it's like the Dolans are going, we got Michael Bourne, we got go down the list. We have gone out and spent some money. But you're getting 10,000 people in that stadium. That's not encouraging the owner to go out and make some more moves. But if you get some offense to go along with your decent to good pitching, you're going to score some runs, and people like seeing you score runs, and people like seeing wins. And if you get that extra piece or two, maybe you can't recreate the magic of the mid to late 90s with those tribe teams of Albert Bell, Carlos Baerga, Kenny Lofton, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez. I can run out of breath listing the amazing talent we had on those teams. But, yeah, I mean, they really are a big bopper or two away from really having a chance here. And, yeah, they're absolutely not out of it at this point, but, there's definite cause for concern. I mean, that's a huge 2-game swing against the Tigers that would have been necessary. But the Indians did. The Indians did win that one in the rain-suspended game against the Royals, except what do we have? We got to get 2 outs and a doubleheader coming up here, something like that?
Yeah, they'll play that in Cleveland. I believe it's September 21st, where they just need to get 3 outs against the Royals. And they, as they said, the game is suspended. So suspended means you have to finish the game instead of called, where called would end the game and the Indians would have won.
Well, we'll see how that plays out, if that's even relevant. That'd be great, because we at least have that one to knock the Royals back, and we have a half game up there. But you got to win these against the Tigers, and who knows where the wild card's coming out of. You got some other teams playing decent baseball in the American League. But we only have you for a little bit of time, so I want to bounce over, talk about another team that has spent some money in free agency, the Cleveland Browns. Of course, the big splash, Johnny Manziel, Brian Hoyer getting the start. What are we to make of this Josh Gordon situation? We're hearing that the NFLPA might be renegotiating for HGH right now, and as a condition, they might retroactively reduce or remove suspensions under the previous rules? What is your gut telling you? Is Josh Gordon going to see the field this year?
You know what? I was shocked that he got a full year suspension to begin with. I actually thought, in his situation, this might be one where he gets like 8 games or 4 games or something. Instead, he got the full year, and he has made mistakes. And I'm not covering for him because he was an idiot for even being in that situation. But at the same time, I think they're going to go back, talk about it, and there was word that he could get away either without anything or having his sentence reduced, which could very well happen. I think that's a likely scenario, and I have no clue how long this will take. It took longer than expected to begin with.
It took forever.
For the full year.
It took forever. There was no point. Like, we had to drag this out for 3 months to make sure we could give Ray Rice 2 games for hitting his girlfriend. But if you hit a joint, you lose the whole season. It makes a lot of sense. Not at all.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to see some sort of reversal here. But for the love of God, I think Gordon was even in a DUI traffic stop where he was a passenger and weed was found and it wasn't hit. Like, this guy will not stop dancing around trouble. And the DUI is serious because you could kill yourself or other people. Smoking a little weed, I could care less. It's not performance enhancing. I mean, but I think they said 38 players are starting the NFL season out on suspension this year. It's just insane. It's insane. I mean, obviously the guys need to make better decisions, but I did pick up Josh Gordon in my fantasy league off waivers. He was sitting there. I picked him up. I'm going to sit him on the bench and see if we can get him for a few games this year. And I'm sure the Browns are hoping for the same. But I also drafted the Cleveland Browns defense. They definitely went out and got Dante Whitner, Carlos Dansby, spent some money over there, drafted defensive back Gilbert. And tell me I didn't make the wrong move picking the Browns defense. Are they going to be studs, or do they have some learning to do and you think it's going to be rocky for them?
Well, anytime you have a new defensive system, I think you have some learning to do, but they have a lot of veterans there, and they have some young and veterans on that defense, and I think they're going to be a very good defense. They're going to make plays. Whenever you have Joe Hayden on the other side, he's going to make some plays. Gilbert needs to step up, but Buster Screen's ahead of him right now.
Yeah,
so Buster Screen, he's calmed down a little bit and definitely improved. But you look at some of the front with Phil Taylor. You have Jabal Sheard coming off the corner. Armani Bryant's actually been impressive. But you look at, like you said, I mean, Dansby was an absolute huge pickup for the Browns. He's a linebacker that's been very impressive, and he's a veteran. He had a great year in Arizona, comes over. A lot of playmakers on this defense. Whitner just knows how to hit. I'm not sure about his coverage. We'll have to see about his coverage, but I think that was a great pickup for them. But the defense, I think, is what's going to be a strength on this team. You have to keep them in games, and we'll see what the offense can do. I don't think the offense will be bad, but that receiver position, they had a chance to really pick up some wide receivers in free agency, and also in the draft, they didn't do that.
And also some players were cut. What was that? Stephen Hill over with the Jets, big playmaking ability. He's kind of flubbed the first 2 years, got released. Who's that? Robert Meacham with the Saints. You had some actual
that's
decent.
One I'd like to have is Robert Meacham. I think he's a veteran that can teach these younger guys, and
he's off the table.
Get involved a little bit.
He went back. He went back to the Saints. I was looking at Santonio Holmes, who kind of lit us up in the preseason anyway with the Bears. And it's like, for the love of God, I mean, we really love what our receivers are that much where we can't get any help. We won't draft any help in a super deep wide receiver rich class. We got to go get. I don't know. I mean, I got to give every front office a chance, so I'm going to see how it plays out. But it just seems like with that suspension looming the entire season, the entire off season, knowing the day of the draft what was happening, why don't you factor that in and get a second or third round wide receiver to jump in and do something? Maybe sign somebody off the, someone that got cut for whatever reason from another team. I don't know. The jury's out. I'm going to hold on that. But I want to ask you about the Buckeyes as well. What do you make of freshman quarterback J.T. Barrett? His first game, it looked pretty good. Obviously one mistake, but they won. But it was a very close game that the Buckeyes were losing for a while. What do you make of their struggles last week, or could you even call them struggles? Are most teams going to kind of have a little bit of a difficult time handling that special and very specific offense that they saw? And what do you think that you're going to see this week out of them?
Well, when you look at Ohio State, I think one thing, the offensive line obviously had a lot of seniors last year. I mean, every one of them went to the pros last year, so now they're down to one senior on that offensive line, which struggled a little bit. But Navy's a tough team. They're a scrappy team that does all kinds of different formations and throws you for loops. But I thought overall they did pretty well with the offensive line. Now, the quarterback position, Barrett or Barnett, I believe, he was unbelievable for a freshman to handle himself the way he did. I thought he threw the ball very well. He threw it. He had to run it when he needed to, but he made some really good throws for a young freshman quarterback. And he made some not good decisions. There was an interception that he threw, but overall, you know what? For a freshman, I liked what I saw, and I think he'll continue to do well.
Yeah, well, freshman J.T. Barrett named Big Ten Co-Freshman of the Week for his efforts in the victory over Navy, which is good. He's obviously not going to play like Braxton Miller. He's not as much of a runner, but he seemed to make some decent decisions back there. He looked all right, and we'll see that they bounced down to number 8 in the rankings, but all you got to do is just win, baby. Just go undefeated.
That's
just
right.
Play the team you have that week, and if you look back and you're undefeated, I mean, how are you going to leave a Buckeye team out of a championship race when you bring the top 4 in? You figure that the other teams are going to cannibalize themselves, and if you can get past Michigan State and Michigan and some of the other teams in the Big Ten, it's like, well, what can you say? Oh, they lost their quarterback. They're no longer the number 4 team. They're number 8. Well, are they? If they keep winning? I mean, Johnny Manziel won a Heisman as a freshman. It doesn't matter if they're a freshman. What matters is production. So I know you got to get running here. So real quick, I wanted to ask you, Kyrie Irving went down pretty hard. Well, I guess you just don't call it Team USA. I like calling it Team USA, but let's just call it extracurricular basketball activities, non-NBA related. That being said, did you have any concern watching Kyrie go down? Would you like to see him get the experience and learn from Coach K and get better, or sit out and stay healthy? Because it's kind of a risk-reward thing going on here with Kyrie.
You know what? I'd like him to play. I mean, it's Team USA. You can learn a lot from Coach K, and yeah, you're always going to have that worrisome that they can get injured. I mean, that's just part of the game. But let him play. Let him get out there. He's an unbelievable player. They're going to have a great season coming up. If you sit out, you could get a little bit rusty. I know, he might be safe, not getting hurt, but why not go out there and play? And I think Team USA is looking good. Kyrie fell, but he tweeted that he's okay and not to worry. So we'll see what happens. I think you should play, though.
Well, and speaking of tweet, the best way to find you is SOT Podcast. Is that correct on Twitter?
That's right.
All right.
Yep, right on the money, Brian.
Absolutely, buddy. Well, hey, have a good time with all of the high school football festivities. I miss it. And for the love of God, every ear that you can tweak and bend, you got to push for Brunswick playing Strongs for that last game. That's where I played at Brunswick. I love that rivalry. It was always huge. The teams are almost always undefeated going into that last game. It meant something. And now that's
right.
Been taken away. So help me put that back together. Humpty Dumpty can get taped up, a little duct tape, a little, 3 in the morning you're watching. Oh, it fixes everything. Just spray it here. Well, let's put Humpty Dumpty back together and get that thing sorted out. So thank you again for a very quick segment, but I think we covered a hell of a lot in a very short amount of time.
Hey, no problem. Anytime, Brian. Enjoy being on your show.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy. You take care. That was Rob Trautman, everybody. Please make sure that you're following him on Twitter at SOT Podcast. We'll be right back on the other side. I want to talk about this whole Joan Rivers thing. Kind of interesting. She criticizes President Obama, routine procedure, now she's dead. Anything to that? I don't know. We'll be right back.
It's the Unhappy Hour.